Let me just tell everybody that our topic tonight is about raising healthy kids in an increasingly unhealthy world. And joining me tonight are two moms who have had a lot of experience. They've got little bitty kids, and they have a lot to share with us about what they've learned about how to offer healthy foods and healthy options to their kids, and what supplements have been really useful for them. And so you're going to be hearing from them. So I wanted to begin by sharing with you, though, some of the concerns that have been raised about the world that our children are growing up in today, because it really is quite a concern. I found an article from it was from a publication that is a business publication, and it was oriented toward businesses and the cost of health care for employees. But it was fascinating. They said that past generations of children suffered from acute diseases like polio, most of which now are prevented by vaccines. But in contrast, today, children face chronic diseases that develop slowly throughout childhood and impair their adulthood. And the onset of these chronic conditions is beginning at earlier and earlier ages, to the point where conditions once that were only seen in adults are now being diagnosed in children. And so here is just a few of them. Premature births are continue to increase. 500,000, 500,000 infants total were premature, 30% increase since 1981. Low birth weights are also on the rise. And babies who weigh too little at birth adds to their potential medical problems, because low birth weight is associated, of course, with higher risk of mortality, but the percentage of newborns with low birth weights has increased in the past 2 decades from 7% back in 1990 to 8.5% in 2006, and that puts them at risk for respiratory issues, for bleeding in the brain, and other serious complications. Next slide, Joe. And so asthma is another classic condition for kids. I have been watching over the years that slowly going up. I remember when it was 1 in 20 kids, and it was 1 in 17 kids, and I just was looking at a report that I had put together about 3 years ago. It was 1 in 13 kids. It is now 1 in 10. And about a quarter of those children with asthma are younger than 5 years old. Obesity now has become a very, very serious condition. The greatest threat to public health today, says U.S. Surgeon General. And the rate of overweight among children has increased from 6% between 1976 and 1980 to now 30%. A third of our children are not only overweight, they're obese. And that obesity is sustained into adolescence, into young adulthood, and that puts them at tremendous risk for all kinds of chronic diseases, including high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes and heart disease issues. And that brings us to diabetes, which is now affecting 26%, 1 out of every 4 people under the age of 20. That's 1 in every 400, increasing risk for heart disease and stroke, hypertension, kidney disease, blindness, neuropathy, and amputation. And so I wanted to just share a few of these statistics with you. Next slide, Joe, because we need to be aware that we can't just cruise through life with our children eating the way the food companies keep offering options to us that are delicious, to be sure, but really come with a price. 10% of U.S. kids, that's 1 out of every 10, suffers with allergies, learning disabilities. Now it's 5 million kids have been diagnosed with learning disabilities. And interesting, 10 million children are on prescription medications, and to qualify to get on that list, it means for at least 3 months out of a year. And then the mental health disorders, depression, behavioral issues, emotional issues. In 2011, a little more than 5% of children between 4 and 17 were reported by their parents to have serious difficulties with emotions, with concentration, behavior. These are the kids who would get, ADD, ADHD, that sort of thing. But depression itself is so high, and that's where kids would be putting on antidepressants. And only 55%, and these statistics, by the way, come from the Center for Disease Control, report that their health is excellent. Only half of our children experience what we would consider excellent health. So I just wanted to help us be alert. Next slide, Joe.
Barb, while you were just talking, that book, that was previewed in the New York Times, Mike had mentioned it to you, is it Salt, Sugar, Fat? Was that the title of it? Mm-hmm. I think what really has struck me with that is that to be aware that food companies spend tons of money to engineer foods that will be addictive, that aren't good for us.
Exactly, and they're very good at it.
Yeah. So they don't have our best interests at heart. We need to be aware of that.
Now, in September, I think it is, Harper, we're going to be devoting one of our sessions just to asthma. But there's an interesting book called Healing the New Childhood Epidemics, Autism, Asthma, ADHD, and Allergies by Kenneth Bach. And I just wanted to pull a couple of things out of there because he talks in there, he's an MD, about what is causing this epidemic of all of these serious illnesses. And he said number one is toxins are proliferating. They're in the air. Air is saturated with mercury from coal-burning factories and IQ-damaging lead. In fact, it is a very big concern right now that India and China and these sort of newly industrializing countries are using coal-burning factories, and what's going on there is affecting our weather here. It's affecting our air quality here and around the world. Water, you probably have read the articles about all the concern of things that are found in our water, from hydrocarbons to pathogens, which are disease-carrying organisms, to waste, to medications. You probably are aware of that people flush medications down the toilet when they're done taking them, but they also are urinating them out of their bodies, and we are all then, it's going into the water table. It's a huge issue. And then food itself, the chemicals, the hormones, the antibiotics, the additives, the sophistication of these food scientists who have learned exactly how to make a chip. What do they call it, Joe? The bliss point, where the chip crunches exactly the amount of the salt-sugar combination and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of folks kind of working against our good health. And then because of it, nutrition is deteriorating. The average intake of essential nutrients has steadily declined since 1980, replaced by unhealthy fast food and processed food. And within the body, you may not be aware, but there are these wonderful systems set up within the body that naturally detoxify the body, but when the body doesn't get enough nutrients and when it is overloaded and toxic overload, these detoxification systems fail and are not able to help keep, the liver and the kidney and these filtering organs of the body healthy. Click. So there's one other article I just want to share with you because I had not seen this before. This was from an article from a PhD at the University of Bergen in Norway, raised serious concerns about the high levels of contaminants in farm-raised salmon. And you've probably heard the argument about salmon, and it's a great big fish that eats little fish, and you get this cumulative effect of contaminants. But these toxic contaminants, when they get inside the fish, they bind to the fat molecules. And these, and when that happens with wild fish, which are also used as the fish meal to feed the farm-raised fish, you're getting very high concentrations. And these molecules then, when we eat them, they come in our body and they bind to our cells. And this can certainly cause health problems for us. but it's extremely important to understand what this means to unborn children, because those toxins, those contaminants, accumulate in the mother's body. And when she gives birth, her body dumps up to 90% of the accumulated toxins into the body of the firstborn child. That was just shocking. And I had read a statistic about 3 years ago that in the blood of umbilical cords, they have found over 279 industrial compounds, chemicals. Now we understand where they're coming from, and then they show up in breast milk too. So the reason we want to know all of this is that the toxins that enter our bodies today are affecting the next generations. And that's why people are so trying to raise awareness about the importance of really being careful about the food we feed our children, about the homes in which they are growing up and the environment in which they're growing up, and to see what can we do to be proactive to help our children grow up in a healthier environment. Next. So we've asked Angie Thomas from St. Louis to join us and tell us a story about her little girl, Eliza. Angie?
Hello.
There you are. Good. Go ahead, Angie. Thanks.
Thanks, Barb. Okay, so Eliza was born with a kidney issue, and this kidney issue gave her an increased risk for urinary tract infections and kidney infections. It also required an 8-hour surgery when she was 16 months old and an 8-day stay in the hospital. They basically remodeled her bladder, and it was a very intense surgery. It required her to be on 22 months of antibiotics from day 2 of life till she was 22 months old. So with all of these antibiotics, one would think that she had been a sickly child, since antibiotics are said to wreak havoc on our immune system. But she did not have a single ear infection. She does not have allergies. She didn't, while she was on the antibiotics either. She just was a pretty healthy kid throughout all of this, and still is. Yesterday we celebrated her 2nd birthday. And I know, it was so much fun. And she's running around. We gave her a little indoor trampoline, and she's jumping on the trampoline, and she's going crazy like any normal 2-year-old. And it's just so awesome to see our little girl so healthy. We don't have any of the health concerns we had when she was born. And we don't have any health concerns of, what would be considered normal little bugs popping up. We just have a healthy little happy 2-year-old, and we feel really great about that. You can go to the next slide. I think that there's 2 main things that would contribute to the success of her health, diet and supplements that we give her. Right now, she takes the Incredivites, which is the multivitamin for children, an Optiflora probiotic, vitamin C, it's a chewable, alfalfa, and Mighty Smarts, which are the omega DHA. And pretty much every day she has a protein smoothie. Mostly any day that I have a smoothie, she has a smoothie. Those are the supplements she takes. I also believe that her diet, which is on the next slide, had a lot to do with the success of her health. I'm like any of the other moms out there. It is hard to get vegetables into my children. We try to make sure she's getting good proteins and fruits and veggies, but veggies are probably one of the harder things to get in them. So we have to be creative with our with how we get them in her. Sometimes if they're on my plate, she'll eat them. But if I had put the red peppers and salad greens on her plate, she might not have wanted them.
Go figure, kids, right?
I know, right? It's whatever you have, they want. Tonight I was eating a salad, for example, for dinner, and I just was handing her little pieces of the leaves from my salad, and she was gobbling them up. But had I put that on her plate, she would have probably thrown it on the floor. So I got salad in her, and she probably didn't even realize it. We try to limit her sugar and her sweets, but like I said, it's I'm like any other mom. We're doing the best we can. It's hard to be 100% healthy all the time, which is why I really feel great about the supplements that we are giving her to make sure that it's filling in the gaps that we can't get with her. I also think we found out about her kidney issue when I was pregnant with her, so I knew that she was going to have to be on antibiotics. So I felt really good that I was taking a probiotic through my entire pregnancy, which was for my immune system, but in turn also helping her immune system while it was being built in the womb. So I felt like we were able to start giving her some healthy nutrition since before she was even here.
That's a good idea.
Another way, yeah, it was. I really felt good about that. Another way that I sneak veggies in her is through the smoothies, which I provided a couple recipes on the next slide for a couple different smoothies I make. Mostly, if I make any smoothie, I throw in a humongous handful of spinach. My hands are pretty big, so I consider it 2 servings of spinach. I don't know if that's cheating or not. But I throw in a huge handful of spinach, and when you blend up spinach into a smoothie, you can't taste it. And it virtually has no texture because it blends up pretty well. So we're at the point now with my kids that they can help us put the spinach in, and they drink it right up. It doesn't bother them that there's spinach in there. But it wasn't always like that, and not every kid is like that. So blackberries, if you put it in anything, it turns it pink. So that's a great way. Throw some blackberries in any of your smoothies, including these 2 recipes, and you now have a pink smoothie that your child would probably drink faster than a green one, you know.
Oh, these moms come up with these great ideas. Love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's our story.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Okay. And now we're going to hear from Harper Guerra, who also has 2 adorable little kids here. And she's going to share with us what she's been learning about healthy eating with those kids and sharing some recipes with us also. Thanks, Harper.
Hi. I am going to share tonight a couple things, but I'm going to start with what I've learned about why to feed my kids healthy foods. And the more that I understand why and see why, the more that I am motivated, because it is hard. It can be difficult to feed our kids healthy food. And so the more I understand why, the more I'm motivated to take those extra steps. The first thing I've learned personally is to make the association of how what my children eat affects their health. I have a couple examples of that, but one example very recently is the weekend of the 4th of July. Starting on Wednesday, I did not have a lot of time to plan. We had all these social things come up spontaneously, like 4 days in a row. And there were lots of unhealthy foods at 3-year-old level at lots of different parties. And my daughter ate so much junk food. It was ridiculous. And even though we did our best at the meals that we were home, it was one of those times. And she got all mucusy. Those 4 days happened, and the next day she was just so mucusy. And if you know 3-year-olds, they start sucking it in, and then she got a cough, and she just felt awful because all of the dairy and the sugar had just created all this mucus. And I consistently see, when she is mucusy or coughy, her allergies start acting up. I haven't had seasonal allergies hardly at all since I started Shaklee, and they used to be very severe. But after that weekend, I hadn't eaten well, and I started having some allergies. So I see how, almost like clockwork, when it's just this onpouring of foods that aren't good for her. I see it more obviously in her than in the little one. But how it affects her health on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not even going into the long-term effects to diabetes and the long-term chronic diseases. I'm talking about this week, how it affects her health. And I don't like to see her coughing and see her not feeling well. The second thing I've learned is the foods they eat also can affect their behavior. I had a friend even ask me about Maya's behavior. This was a long time ago, and noticing the difference in her behavior than her child's behavior, and asked what she ate for breakfast. And I told her that she eats, scrambled eggs with vegetables, and I'll talk a little bit more about what she eats. But she eats a lot of protein for breakfast because I think that's important. And she said that her child didn't eat protein, and wondered if that had anything to do with it. And she started feeding her child protein for breakfast and noticed a difference. And after that conversation, I could tell specifically that the behavior, the attitude, the disposition of my daughter was definitely different on days that we did something quick and easy. And I started making some changes to the consistency of our breakfast after that, making more of an effort. Like, for example, I had read in this book that when you're getting ready for church on Sunday mornings, like, do something really easy. And so I had been, doing these unhealthy-ish, they were healthy, but they were very carb-heavy muffins. And I had done them for her. And every week it was like she was just a mess at church. I started prioritizing making her eggs for breakfast on Sundays, and I noticed a distinct difference, which is just very interesting. What I was giving her affected her behavior. And the most interesting thing I thought was this past Friday, my mom took my daughter, the 3-year-old, out to the grocery store. And the woman in front of my mom, I don't know exactly the interaction that they had, but she turned to my mom and she said, I can tell that little girl eats nutritious and healthy food. She said, I can tell by her behavior. I can tell by a glow in her skin, like that she's glowing, she's radiant, and just her behavior and her disposition. This is a woman we've never met before. But it was someone, it was at Whole Foods with a cart full of nothing packaged, my mom said. So it was like she knew what she was talking about. And I was like, Mom, this is so interesting because I'm going to be discussing this in my webinar on Monday. And it was just a really interesting example of just this woman who just noticed the difference in her.
Right.
And associated it with that. And I've also, this is just in addition, I've also learned that we live in a society where it's difficult to keep our kids healthy. It's really hard with the things that are available, with the toxins that are in places we can't control. So I've learned that what we do when we can is important. And there are times where we can't control it. There are times where we can't control what our kids are eating. And there are times where but when we have the opportunity to feed them healthy foods and to take the toxic cleaners out, like to take those opportunities, because it's increasingly difficult. It's not the default. It really takes effort. And so to do it when we can, that's important. So, and then the next slide. What other thing I want to share is what I've learned about how to keep my kids healthy, because it isn't easy. So these are the 3 things that I would say is start early and early. And what I mean by that is starting early when their first foods don't have to be rice cereal. We started, my children actually have never eaten rice cereal. We can start with things that are not heavy on carbohydrates and sugar, giving them a taste for those things. My daughters, both their first food was avocados. They moved to soft fruits and vegetables. And that's pretty much all they ate in the beginning. My 9-month-old eats scrambled eggs and broccoli and carrots and these muffins I'm going to talk about. That's what she eats for breakfast too. And I heavily encourage to research formulas. They did an expose on MSNBC a while ago about that they don't list the sugar content that's in formulas. So if your child is on formula, to research the particular brands of formula to know the sugar content that are in them, because they don't have to list the sugar on the packaging. And some of them had, I don't want to quote what they relate it to, but how much sugar it had per serving was was kind of shocking. And then the other early is breakfast. Breakfast is so important, and so it's important to start the day with the good stuff for their behavior, for their health, for the who knows what's going to happen at lunchtime or dinner time. But if we start with healthy food, it's just a good way to start the day. Scrambled eggs with vegetables in them are an easy way to start to get extra vegetables in. Like how many, if we're trying to get 6 to 9 servings of vegetables per day, we got to have some at breakfast or else we're not going to get them all in. So what we do is I put, for example, I put any other vegetables that we have, but I always put like chopped up steamed broccoli and frozen spinach and scramble those up with eggs. And we've actually, my amazing and brilliant husband's idea, we made it easier by the days that I'm busy. Those days I don't make scrambled eggs because I made twice as much the day before. And I just put it in the fridge and heat it up in a pan. And that way I don't have to go through the whole thing. Like, for example, on Sunday mornings when we're busy trying to get out the door to go to church, the eggs are already made. I put them in the pan, I warm them up, and I put them on the girls' plates. And it's that easy. But we have that for breakfast already. A lot of people make egg muffins, which are in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. We don't do this, but a lot of people do, where you can take scrambled eggs and red peppers and whatever vegetables that you want, and put them in muffin tins, cook them for 30 minutes, and then you just put them in the fridge, and people, warm them up. I guess you probably warm them up in the oven as just a quick breakfast that has that protein in it. The second thing that we do is we replace with alternatives. You can't ask broccoli. Barb said this to me this week. You can't ask broccoli to compete with carbs. You can't. So we like things like muffins. We like muffins for breakfast. So what I did was I found, and we'll show these recipes, but I found 2 muffin recipes that are delicious. They don't have carbs. They're made with almond meal or almond flour, and which you can get fairly inexpensively at Trader Joe's. And then they're also one that's made with sunflower butter. And so they're these great muffins. They're hearty. They make you feel like you're having a carb, but it's much better for you than having a bagel or a muffin that's full of junk. And my daughters will love them. The second one, the next slide, the sunflower muffins, these are very soft and they don't have any chunks in them. So I'll rip these up and my 9-month-old will eat them. So we can go back to the other side. But, instead of regular pancakes, we make almond meal pancakes. We try to replace things with alternatives. I was telling, before the call started, I was telling them that instead of mashed potatoes, we make mashed potatoes, quote unquote, with cauliflower and coconut milk. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and post that on my blog in the next week or so. And both of those recipes are on my blog also. And there'll be anything that's on these webinars. There'll be a category on the right-hand side that notates that it was mentioned in one of these webinars, so they're easy to find. And so things like that. We try to make things interesting. Like I make a broccoli salad to get the raw broccoli, because I have no problem getting cooked broccoli into my kids, but sometimes the raw broccoli is hard, but raw vegetables are really good. So we make a broccoli salad sometimes, and it's also a great thing. I always bring this broccoli salad to parties because I know there will be a vegetable that my daughter will eat that will be a good thing to go alongside whatever else is being served. We also, starting early, when my daughter turned 3, she was going on and on about, now that I'm 3, I get to do this. Now that I'm 3, I get to do this. And I said, now that you're 3, you get to eat salad. Oh, great. So now she will eat a salad. If I make the spinach bites small enough, she will eat a salad with us. And we eat a lot of dinner salads, with chicken and lots of veggies and stuff, because now that she's 3, that's something she gets to do, which has been great.
Oh, this is excellent, Harper. These are great ideas, and thank you for sharing your your blog for everyone. Did you see that it's called War on Average? So let's share with you then some of the supplements that Harper and Angie are using with their children, and you can click right through these, Joe, to bring those up. Starting with this wonderful multivitamin. I don't know if you realize that many of the multivitamins on the market for kids are heavily artificially flavored and heavily artificially sweetened, and in most cases they have left out the majority of the minerals, because minerals are a little bit more chalky in their texture, and so you'll see things that look like gummies or something, they call those, and those have almost no minerals in them, and they're not particularly, they're all synthetic vitamins. This is an amazing vitamin formula that's very complete, 23 essential nutrients with not only all the vitamins but all the minerals, including vitamin D. You can click 2 more times, I think, Joe, on that. And I love that in anything that comes from Shaklee, it's all without any artificial anything, flavor, sweeteners, preservative, whatever it is. Okay, next, click. Now the probiotics, I know both Harper and Angie, you use these a lot. You want to share what makes these so effective?
Yes. Our particular probiotic is especially effective because of the patented triple encapsulation. I think I read that that most probiotics, only 5% of the microflora actually gets to your gut because it gets eaten up in the stomach acid, but our patented delivery system makes it so that everything that's on the package gets into your gut. And for my family, these have been so effective. My daughter was in the NICU, and when she was on antibiotics, and when she came home, she had these splotches of eczema. I upped my dose of Optiflora to 2 per day, and the eczema went away. When she does eat sugar, I can see her cheeks get pink, and I give her an extra Optiflora, and I can see them turn white because all of that, the way the sugar is affecting her gut, is coming out in her skin. Just knowing that when she does have junk food, I can help strengthen her immune system with the probiotics when it's being, attacked by all the sugar
and we might want to mention that the size of that capsule is about the size of a pearl. So it's a wonderful way to teach children actually to swallow tablets, but you can get that in even tiny kids. I know this is the one that you use, Angie, that you were referring to earlier.
Yeah, when Eliza was a baby, we would soften this in some yogurt or some water, and it would become kind of like a little tapioca jelly kind of
soft.
Soft, yeah. And she could just kind of swallow it down with
Perfect.
her soft food or a little spoonful of milk.
Perfect.
We put it in applesauce.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. See, just remember, it is an essential part of the immune system. So kids, when you have kids who are getting chronic ear infections, colds, viruses, runny noses, congestion, this is one of the first things you reach for. Click. And then let's talk about the Mighty Smarts, because this is an amazing product. Amazing, because they figured out how to make fish oil delicious. Angie, I think this is yours.
Yeah, the Mighty Smarts is how you're going to get your DHA and your omegas into your kids. It's going to help their brains grow. They're still growing even after they're born. It's going to also help their eyes and their vision. We need our kids to have healthy functioning brains so that they can learn better, so that they can have less of a chance of having problems with ADD and other things like that, so they can concentrate in school and be the smarty pants that are going to get scholarships to college.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, a lot of people ask me the texture of this. Some of our kids have some texture issues. I tell people it's the texture of a Starburst, but it's a healthy Starburst. If anyone remembers what Starburst tastes like, yeah. And my kids love this. If I'm out of them for some reason, they are not happy kids. They love, love, love their Mighty Smarts. They're delicious.
They're really good. And really, in other cultures, children eat tremendous amounts of omega-3 and fatty acids, DHA, EPA, but in America they are not snacking on sardines. And so this is a wonderful way to get this into them. It's a very, very important nutrient. And when you're on budgets, as soon as that you can teach your children to swallow, you can switch them over to the capsules. Okay, and then that takes us to protein. Remember that protein is the basis of every cell. And I love what Harper was sharing about her scrambled eggs ideas and how she tucks that in. The thing that was very comforting to me when my kids were growing up is I didn't want to have a war at every meal over what they were going to eat and have a battle about it. And what's wonderful about these protein options, they're delicious, healthy protein powders. They have a variety of nutrients in them. Some are soy-based, some are milk powder-based. They are excellent, and they're great for a snack. They're great for a breakfast. They're great when you've got a kid who just for some reason, ate broccoli ravenously yesterday and today they won't touch it. It's that kind of thing. So, and that energizing soy protein with the famous peanut butter fudge recipe, you see at the bottom of the slide, is a cup of peanut butter and a cup of that protein powder and a third of a cup honey. That is fabulous. You will love it yourself, but the children will scarf it, and it is packed with protein. So, protein is sometimes a little tricky to get into kids, so that's a really excellent one. Okay, Angie?
The chewable vitamin C, that's another thing my kids take. It's really good for your immune system. My kids get one a day, but you can give them more. If I get back to school, when Joey goes back to school, that's my 3.5-year-old, I'll give him more than that because he'll start being around more germs. If I start to see a sign of a runny nose, or we've been around a kid with a runny nose, I'll give him more. The alfalfa on the right, I think alfalfa is awesome. It's used a lot for people that have allergies or sinus issues because it helps with that inflammation of the sinuses sometimes. It is packed with nutrition. I give my kids 3 of these a day, and they just gobble them up. But you can also crush these or hide them in a smoothie. I feel like giving them 3 a day is like giving them a humongous salad because they're just so chock full of nutrition. I'm pretty lucky. My kids love their vitamins, and vitamin time in my house is a happy time. So, but if they want more, same there, Harper. If they want more vitamins, if I've already given them what they normally get and they want more, or later on in the day they're asking for them, I'll give them more C or more alfalfa because you can't have too much of it, and it's like they don't get candy, so this is their candy, and they're just as excited.
Yeah, my grandson also just scarfs them. But it's alfalfa was actually a human food in biblical times, so it's a very, very healthy food in a tablet form. Okay, next, Joe. Thank you. I wanted to share with you just a quick article that I just come across. Consumer Labs periodically gathers up various kinds of vitamins and different products, and they test them. And there was a recent one done on what they called green and whole food powders and so forth, supplements. And they tested them for heavy metals, for microbes, for pesticides. And 5 out of the first 11 products they tested found only 5 of them met their standards. So not even what was the reason I want to share that with you is the consumer is so at risk. They're so vulnerable. There's no way as a consumer that you can know that. You can see that the powders failed testing, that were contaminated with lead, with arsenic, with bacteria. One pill failed because it never broke apart. And so I just, most of us don't know a lot about the vitamin industry and the supplement industry, but there's a standard that comes from something called the U.S. Pharmacopoeia for pharmaceuticals and for supplements, and they recommend testing for 80 different contaminants. Shaklee tests for 400. They conduct over 84,000 quality control tests. Organic, when something is grown organically, it just means it was grown without being sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. But it says nothing about how potent they are, about what other contaminants they may have absorbed, because of air pollution in the area. Shaklee tests for all of that. And you'll notice periodically products are in back order because it's even one ingredient does not meet their standards. They will hold production on the entire product. So it's comforting really to know that. And it's why moms are comfortable trusting their kids to Shaklee. Harper.
Yes, and another important place to trust that I trust my kids to Shaklee is when I'm talking about my home and the toxins in my home. Before anybody eats a piece of food, there are so many opportunities for toxins, and going to the Get Clean line was huge for us. Very important when we're talking about the laundry detergent that. Most laundry detergents are in the fibers of your clothes all day that you wear, and then you sleep on at night. I've had multiple people their kids don't have eczema anymore because they switched to Shaklee laundry detergent. My daughter can help me clean. Like, I've had multiple customers tell me, oh, I can clean the bathroom without getting a headache and feeling nauseous. I'm like, you felt that way and you didn't think it was a problem, but there are all these toxins that we're just so used to. This is, our moms use this product, so we use this product. When we're inhaling the fumes and the residue is on the plates that we eat off of and the floors that our children are playing on. My daughter can help me clean with
and the White House. The White House uses these products, and Oprah uses these products. So you can click to the next slide, Joe. And there's your kid-friendly cleaning kit that Harper's talking about.
Yes. And this is my downline, Katie's daughter here. And these are great products, economical. They're earth-friendly. They're very effective. I can show you multiple before and after pictures of things crayon destroyed and clothing. I'm thinking of starting a whole series on Instagram called Shaklee versus Kids. And Shaklee always wins. And and they're very affordable. There are 3 different kits. Oh, you can go ahead and talk about this part if you want.
Sure, no, it's fine. There's 3 mini kits, and what I want you to know is these kits they run each around $40. There are products in there, some of which will last you 6 months. Some will last you a year. Of course, that depends on how much you clean, but I'm telling you a lot about my household. And the bottle of Basic H alone, a pint of that is about $10. It makes 48 gallons of general cleaner, which is what you see in Malaya's little hands there. And so wonderful products. You can buy the starter kit and get everything all at one time, or you can get it in separate kits. And so there's our Healthy Kids vitamin packs. There's the multivitamin, the Optiflora, the Mighty Smarts, and the Meal Shakes, a really good basic place to start. But for immune boosting, the Vita-C and the Alfalfa. And these are very, very economical. A bottle of the chewable vitamin C gives you 300 tablets, and that's about $23. So you would probably have easily, 3-4 months supply there. And the alfalfa, even the small bottle, is 300 tablets, and that's only $16. So I just want you to see how affordable these things are and how excellent they are as a starting place for your kids. And these then provide the nutrients that are just too critical to leave to chance. Feed your kids the best you can. I so appreciate Angie and Harper sharing with you ways that they try to get their kids to eat healthy, but in the meantime, they know that they're getting all the nutrients they need for a healthy body. I want to mention, I know a number of you just joined us in the last 15 minutes, and we are on a new schedule. We're going to be on the second and third Mondays of the month. We're going to be doing wellness webinars that will just be standalone webinars. And this week we're talking about children's health. Next week we'll be talking about the special needs for people with Down syndrome and how to offer nutritional support for that. And we have some really good behavioral suggestions as well. And then in August we'll be talking about back to school teachers survival kit and then how to help our kids have their best year ever. So please join us then on the second and third Mondays in August, and then but every Monday we will be here with our overview of Shaklee products and Shaklee benefits and philosophy. So with Joe, I think that's a wrap.
Sounds good. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday night at 8 o'clock.